Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. Is it worth it? Yes. With a caveat. Let's get into it. Alright, so before we kick this video off, I want to thank all my patrons and channel members for supporting the content that we do here on YouTube. So you guys make this really possible for me to keep going. You know, supporting my work, supporting the content, supporting the podcast, supporting the streams. Like, you guys are the definition of support. So I really appreciate what you guys do, and I'm very grateful for it. And secondly, I want to thank THQ Nordic for providing a review copy of the game. Hey, I appreciate you. Thank you. So going into this, Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, a lot of people, okay, minus the Re-Reckoning, let's talk about the original Kingdoms of Amalur. And a lot of people really loved that game, but not enough to make it successful financially. A lot of people, it went on to become a cult classic that a lot of people hold near and dear, but ultimately it didn't sell well. And then you had THQ, before they came back as THQ Nordic, going out of business, filing bankruptcy, right? And it was just one of those like situations, right? So that being said, it's basically been a game that for the last near 10 years people have wanted to come to modern consoles, and they've also wanted it to come back with the potential of having a sequel, because there's so much to the world that could be further expanded upon. And it came back. It's on all major platforms, but it's got its detractors. There's a lot of people that are not really too happy with it, which I can understand. That's why I said it's good, but it has a caveat. But we're going to dive into all that and more. With that being said, let's hop into it, right? Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning story is written by New York Times bestselling author R.A. Salvatore. The game starts when your character wakes up in the Well of Souls, an arcane contraption created by dwarves that can bring back the dead. Your resurrected hero is way more than someone brought back to life. With the threads of fate in the world of Amalur having been altered to make this happen, you are left without a preordained destiny, which allows you to decide your own fate and also alter the fates of other inhabitants of Amalur, which will help you put an end to the long war against the Winter Court that has been terrorizing the land. Now, that's just about as much as I'm going to touch on the story, because there's a whole lot that goes on. It doesn't get like Lord of the Rings deep, but it is a pretty deep lore. So with that being said, let's just go on to the gameplay. The gameplay is just as good now as it was back when the game originally released, and it's still fun, you know, with your ability being able to attack, block, dodge, and sprint. The combat system seems simple at first, as you think you just repeatedly be smashing the attack button. However, as you progress in the game, you'll find that the combat is much deeper than you think, as you gain new attacks and utilize your secondary equipped weapon, and not to mention the magic you get as well. You can attack with anything from a sword, hammer, dual daggers, dual short swords, magic staff, great sword, and bow. With your melee weapons, you can do your standard attacks, all while mixing it in with your secondary weapons, and with each attack you can execute different variations of attacks by attacking and then pausing for a second and continuing onwards with attacking, leading to new attack strings. Think like Devil May Cry and you'll get the idea of how the attack patterns work. Magic attacks range from electricity all the way to fire and more, and are arranged and executed fairly quickly by holding down the shoulder button and pressing one of the designated face buttons. You can block incoming attacks with your shoulder button, and if timed properly, you will be able to parry an incoming attack, leaving your enemies wide open to get wrecked with your combat prowess. There's a very in-depth skill tree system that allows you to gain various stat boosts and buffs, as well as unlock more weapons, skills, and open up the ability to utilize more weapons and equipment as you gain experience and level up your character. Weapons and armor all have stats to give you passive and active buffs. Yet what's cool is how your equipment is all subject to damaging and eventually breaking, and to maintain your stuff, you'll need to get repair kits to keep them in tip-top shape. Interacting with various NPCs is, well, for lack of a better term, a complete copy-paste of what BioWare had been doing for years with its weapon wheel choice system of how you talk to characters and learn more about what's going on and people you're talking to. Another thing that's pulled from Mass Effect and all BioWare titles is the Renegade Paragon system, which allows you to persuade or threaten NPCs in dialogue, and also you have the option to loot and steal and pickpocket your NPCs, as well as turn on aggressive mode and attack them to gain a negative reputation. There's the stealth aspect of the games, which will have you crouch and you can either sneak past enemies to get to your destination undetected, or you can use it to sneak up on them to both pickpocket them and also perform an execution. I mean, it's completely up to you. Now, the stealth isn't on the level of games such as Metal Gear or even Splinter Cell, but it's definitely an appreciated mechanic in the game. All right, here we go. Even as a remaster, this game is clearly a last generation game with some added details here and there, and some additional bloom effect to mask what is essentially a game from 2012. While that's not a bad thing per se, it is worth mentioning if you were coming into this expecting it to look on the level of a remaster that changed things fully, then you're really going to be disappointed here. When you change equipment, it visually changes on your character, and the weapons they do look unique from one another, from swords to hammers and more. The game isn't ugly-ish, but it has a lot of jank that was ever so present with games back in the PS3 and 360 days, and oftentimes it has a lot of draw distance and texture pop-ins that appear at the most random of moments as you explore areas. Character models have really unnatural movements and animations at times that just look terrible, and then you have the ragdoll physics that sometimes look like someone is having a body spasm or seizure. It's very random. Like, it's clearly back when we first got ragdoll physics in games. Like, that's really what, to give you a point of reference, that's what it looks like. When it comes to the character faces, yeah, it ain't a looker. And the lip syncing is all over the place. Character faces often look like they came out of the original Fable on the Xbox with many cartoonish looking aesthetics. Environments are decent looking with a lot of flora and fauna going on. However, there is a lot of instances, as mentioned earlier, of pop-in textures and draw distance, which is odd considering when this game was originally released, you'd expect it to be fixed in the remaster, but it isn't. You'll find yourself running through an area or dungeon, and then you'll see background pop-ins, if only being loaded in recently, which is incredibly strange. Graphically, this game is serviceable and nothing more. Now, audio-wise, the voice acting is solid with convincing performances that draw you into the world. The music for the overworld, towns, dungeons, and all are particularly good and suit the area that you're in. And the sounds of explosions, enemy shrills, sword clangs, steel on bone, and sinew, and more sound just as you would expect. Not really a lot to touch on here, as it's all pretty solid. Nothing stands out, but it's solid. So, I mean, hey, that's enough. Now, downsides. Yeah, I mean, you might think that the whole graphics section was the downside, but I digress. Basically, go see the graphics section. Honestly, the true downside here is how the game's, it just how it animates and the graphics, as it just seems like no effort was taken to address a lot of the previous issues in the game, and it's sad. Other than that, I really don't have any issue with the game. And here's the wrap up. While many will and have given this remaster a bad rep, for me, I'm just glad to see that the cult classic is back and on modern consoles, with some tweaks here and there. And when I say some tweaks, I mean very minor tweaks. It's got an incredible story, a deep skill tree system, and really good combat. And that's not really anything, you know, honestly, there's not really anything to not like in Kingdoms of Amalur, the Re-Reckoning, except for the graphics. Is it graphically impressive? No. Is it fun? Yes. And look, it's a really good game. It'll suck you in for hours, and it definitely is something I think you should give a try. I'm gonna say give it a try. For me, it's a buy. For others, it may not be. So I kind of struggle with saying you need this game. How about go try it? Try this game. There you go. Go Gamefly. You know, a way to get it or something. It's not terrible. It's a cult classic for a reason, but if you're used to modern AAA games, it may not be for you, just to be honest. And that's the review for Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. Again, thank you to THQ Nordic for providing a review copy of the game. You guys rock. I had a good time with it. Yes, there are issues with it, but you know, I'm a gamer. I just like good games. I'm not a graphics snub. I'm not someone who only needs to play AAA games. I'll play anything. And I enjoyed it back in the day, back in 2012. I enjoy it now. And I think it's something that if you give it a chance, you probably would enjoy it yourself. So with that being said, what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on it? Did you play the original? Did you love it then? Did you hate it? Did you pick up this remaster? Do you like it? Do you hate it? I'm asking a lot of open-ended questions, but what is your feedback? Whatever it is, let's get the conversation going down below. And if you want to join an amazing Discord community with a lot of great people in it, hit the link down in the description below. Come join the family. We have a good time. We talk about a lot of stuff. We kick it, play games together more. So yeah, that's it. That's all I gotta say. We're wrapping this video up. I'll catch you on the next one. You made it to the end of the video, man. I'm so happy that you made it to the end of the video. That means that you enjoy what I put on this channel. You enjoy what you just watched. And since you did, go ahead and hit that like button. The other thing you can do, go ahead and sub if you enjoyed it. If you really enjoy the content right here, you're probably gonna like the next thing. So go watch the playlist, go watch some of the other recent uploads. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button. And if you really want to support what we're doing here, and you know, it's completely optional, but go ahead and become a channel member. We got that too. You ain't got to, but if you do, I appreciate you. But other than that, thank you for coming through. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you for checking out what we do here. I'll see you on the next one.